All right, hey, welcome back to another edition of SnackTime Sports. YouTube video, I guess. But today I'm going to do AFC North predictions because I feel like it's right around the time where everyone's doing predictions now. I feel it's a good time to do it myself. So I took some notes, I wrote some stuff down, and I'm going to give you guys an analysis of the AFC North and how I think it's going to play out. So. Now the AFC North is probably the most competitive division in the entire NFL, I would say, hands down. You got the Ravens, you got the Bengals, you got the Steelers, you got the Browns. All teams make the playoffs. If they play well enough, especially the Ravens and Bengals, those teams are loaded right now on offense at least. So those teams are destined for greatness. They're gonna be good for a while. So. But yeah, let's get into it. So I guess at 4, I put the Cleveland Browns. I don't really know what the Browns are doing right now. They have 6 quarterbacks on the roster now, and they just added Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley too. Now I do think Joe Flacco will be the clear starter. So I guess if Joe Flacco can tap into what he did in 2023, then they have a chance of being good. But it's the rest of the team does not spell good things for me. Now they did draft Mason Graham at 5th overall this year, which I think is a good draft pick. He's out of Michigan, so that should help out their D-line. So, but other than that, I'm not really inspired by anything they've done in the offseason. They added Deontay Johnson too to the wide receiver room, which he's been a journeyman wide receiver in the league now. He's been that guy, so. He's had attitude issues too, I think, with teams. That's why he left the Texans, I think. That's why he left the Ravens. So I just don't see him producing the way the Browns want him to or expect it out of him. So now, of course, Cleveland still has Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, and a relatively sound offensive line. So if they can put the pieces together, I think they can possibly win 7 games this year at most. But largely, though, the Browns are still in the highly competitive AFC and do not have strong enough roster go up against some of the teams that are some of the stronger teams in the AFC, like the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs. But the Browns have been competitive in their own division too. They won games against the Steelers and the Ravens last year, and they only got swept by the Bengals. So it's they could beat teams in their division, who are pretty good. They beat the Ravens last year, so they can be competitive. But they have 6 quarterbacks on the roster. It's I guess I think one of those quarterbacks has to make the difference for them. I think one of them does. Whether it's Flacco, Huntley, or Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel, I think one of those rookies or one of those guys has to make the difference for them. So, I don't feel confident about Kenny Pickett on that team. Really, I don't feel. Obviously, I think we all know how I feel about Deshaun Watson. So, but I think one of those guys has to pan out. I think at least one. Probably a rookie on the team, I would think, but I don't know. So, I guess my record prediction for them this season is a 7-10 ceiling. And then a 3-14 floor. Because I understand they made improvements, but they're not really that drastic. I don't see how they can improve on what they did last year any further. Just because they still don't even have a quarterback right now. Now, granted, it could be Joe Flacco, but it should be Joe Flacco, I think. But he helped them out in 2023, right? He was their guy in 2023, right? So he played well in 2023. So he could play well again, but I just don't see it happening. So, and then I have, I guess for my third team in the AFC North, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers, just because I feel it does pay me to put the Steelers in this position because I want them to be good so bad. I want them to be good, but I know they're not going to be good. They're not going to be. I keep saying all the time in my videos, like they'll go 10-7 with a wildcard exit. And I think they're still going 10-7 with wildcard exit, mainly because they didn't make any coordinator changes. Like, I actually like Arthur Smith. I think he's a good offensive coordinator. I think he's done some good things for the team, but it's like Terrell Austin is like the worst defensive coordinator I've seen in a long time. Like, his schemes don't work at all. His defenses constantly get gashed for his big splash plays, like, and they have, they added Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay too, so like their secondary should be better. I would hope so, but it just doesn't seem like to me at all. And then they drafted Derek Harmon from Oregon, Yahweh Black out of Iowa, and Jack Sawyer from Iowa State. So it's like they have the pieces there. The defense is going to be tricky for me to analyze, I guess, because I don't know what to expect. I know the Steelers have a good defense. I know they do. But it's like, I just don't expect, them to play that well, play any better than they did last year. So, and as for the offense, they did bring in Aaron Rodgers. They did bring in DK Metcalf, I guess, But it's like I don't think it's going to be any better. Like, see, Aaron Rodgers is like just a older version of Russell Wilson, isn't he? Like, nowadays, like, they traded away George Pickens, like they drafted Calvin Johnson, which I liked. So, I just don't see them actually making any noise anytime soon. Like, that's why I have them going 10-7. I have 10-7 ceiling for them and a 9-8 floor because Tom can't have losing season, right? So, and then I've got the Bengals at second. So let's get into that. Give me a second here. I am kind of hesitant putting the Bengals at second, mainly because of their defense. And we just found today that Trey Hendrickson is probably gonna get traded. So, the Bengals were listing trade offers for him. So it's like, but they did draft Shamar Stewart. They did sign him. They also drafted linebacker, right? Demetrius Knight Jr. So, they also fired their defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo and brought in Al Golden, who served as the Bengals linebackers coach in 2020. So there should be some improvement there. But the Bengals went 9-8 last year and had one of the most highly potent offenses in the entire league. Joe Burrow had the best season of his career last year, throwing for almost 5,000 yards and 43 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. And Jamar Chase had the best season of his career too, catching 127 balls for 1,708 yards and 70 touchdowns. All new heights for his career. So, I just I feel like their offense is going to be good. We know that, we know their offense is going to be good, It's just the defense, they let the Steelers put up 40 on them last year. That's embarrassing. To let any team, for any team actually, to let the Steelers put 40 up on you when their offense is so atrocious, that's embarrassing. So, but their defense should be better, I would think. They have Shamar Stewart. Hopefully they have Trey Hendrickson still. They brought in Demetrius Knight too in the draft. And I also saw they signed some quarterbacks too. So their secondary should be better too. But I just don't see it happening. I just don't. It's hard for me to say the Bengals' defense is going to be any better than last year. I need to see it happen first, right? I think we all need to see it happen first, right? So, and then I have a number at first in the division, Baltimore Ravens, legit Super Bowl contenders. They have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry there. They're super loaded on both sides of the ball. I feel they have talent everywhere at every position. I think. But they lost the Bills 27-25 in the divisional round last year, right? They beat the shit out of the Steelers, yes, but playing the Steelers in the playoffs is like having a cakewalk, so it doesn't even count really. They did acquire Joe Alexander and Chidobe Awuzie to help bolster their defense, which struggled against some of the top offenses in the NFL. So, and I think if the Ravens can simply stay healthy, which is easier said than done, obviously, and prove to the AFC that they're a force to be reckoned with, I think they can make some noise. I think they can win. More, but it's gonna be hard for them because their playoff success is just not there. But the Baltimore is in win-now mode with Lamar Jackson and King Henry too. So, Lamar Jackson is still 28 years old. He's not 30 yet, and King Henry is only 31. He's older, but he's still a beast. He's still the best running back in the NFL. So, but the AFC North is a bloodbath. No one can really accurately predict how it's going to turn out. So, I'm just throwing, I guess, poop at the wall here. I don't even know. I think the Ravens are going to finish first. The Bengals are, and then it gets kind of tricky after that. I understand the Steelers finished second last year. I don't think it's happened again. But, I don't know how the Bengals' defense is going to perform, right? I don't know how they're going to perform. So, the Steelers could finish second. They could, but I don't see it happening. So, that's why I got the Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Browns in that order. So, let me know if you guys disagree or agree. Let me know your thoughts. And I'll try to put out more content like this in the future too. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate it.